I was Ms. Matt's professor in law school, and I am thrilled that he picked me to do this. I want to say congrats to him for being the outstanding attorney, young attorney
Thank
this
you.
year. And I guess we'll start with Matt introducing himself.
Yeah, thank you. Check test 1 2. Hey 2. Check. Audio check 1 2. Check test 1 2. Hey 2. Check. Audio check. Check test 1 2. Microphone check. Test 1 2. Awesome. And that HDMI input, was that feeding the signal okay for you? Okay. Yeah.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we are. All right, let's go. If you're here, it means you survived the COVID pandemic, so give yourselves a hand. Here we are. Woo, come on. If you're not here, well, that's terrible. Welcome to the first event of the 2021 annual meeting. Thank you for joining us here tonight at the convention. I want to introduce the Board of Commissioners. First, I am Don Carey. I am the president of the Idaho State Bar until Friday. It's been a long 3 years. We managed to get through COVID largely because of the skill, dedication, and very hard work of the Idaho State Bar staff, the executive director, Diane Minnick, and the associate director, Maureen Braley, who's not here, and Teresa Baker. She's here. Where are you, Teresa? She's in the back. Give these people a hand. They made us look good. I want to introduce the incoming president of the bar, Anne Marie Fulfer. Anne Marie, where are you? Stand up. Nope, stand up. Here she is. And then the co-commissioners are Kurt Holzer from the 4th District. Kurt. Kristen Borkman Dunn, also from the 4th District. Kristen, stand up. No, stand up. And Laird Stone, representing the 3rd and the 5th District. Laird. And then we have the incoming president, or incoming commissioner from the 6th and 7th District, Gary Cooper over here. Yay. And then I have my friend and fellow commissioner from last year, Dave Carrick. Dave, stand on up. All right. Here's what I want to do. Diane's already nervous because this is way off script. None of this is on here, you know. That's what you get when you get me. If you have served on the Board of Commissioners, stand up, please. Go ahead, stand up. Mark Nye, get up. Everyone get up. Give these people a hand. These are the people that are volunteers that do our work. If you've served on the Idaho Foundation Board, stand up, please. Carrie, you're in the room. Where are you? All right, stand up. There she is. All right. David McGuire, where are you, David? I don't see you. Oh, he's in line over there getting a drink. Can you bring me a gin tonic? Okay, all right. We have somebody we're going to introduce more fully tomorrow. We have a new law school dean. Everyone, who was ever afraid of the law school dean? Raise your hand. I was petrified of him. Dean Kalb, would you stand up, please? Where are you? Here she is. Now, we're gonna talk more about her tomorrow. And yes, I'm going off script. If you are currently in law school, if you are a 2L, 3L, 1L, if you're a 1L, what the hell are you doing here? If you're a 2L or 3L, you ought to be studying torts or something. If you are currently an active law student at the University of Idaho, stand up. Now, all of you guys and gals, I want you to look around the room. Everyone with expensive jewelry on, go talk to them. They're the ones hiring. Okay? They are. All right. I knew it was going to be fun. All right, we have some platinum sponsors. All right, Diane, I'm back on script. We need to thank our platinum sponsors, Bank of Idaho, give them a hand. 4th District Bar Association, they've done a great job. Keep applauding. The Idaho Central Credit Union, keep applauding. And our gold sponsors, Clio and the University of Idaho College of Law. Give them a hand. Go Vandals. All right. We're not bad. All right. Outstanding Young Lawyer. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give out some awards up here. The Outstanding Young Lawyer, Distinguished Jurist, Distinguished Lawyer, and introductory remarks, and so on and so forth. So what we do every year, and if you've been here more than once, you know this is what we do. Last year, because of COVID, we changed the format. And I don't know whose idea it was, but it was a fantastic idea where the recipients were interviewed by somebody of their choosing. And if you didn't see it, it was out here and out there, I guess. And it was a very small group because of the social distancing restrictions. But the videos were absolutely hilarious and revealing and just awesome. So we're going to do that again. It's a great idea. We appreciate the cooperation of the recipients, their interviewers, and the help of David Cromwell of Tucker and Associates, we know who they are, for producing the video. The first award is the Outstanding Young Lawyer Award. This award recognizes a young lawyer who's shown professional excellence and provides service to the profession, the bar, the foundation, and the community. This year's recipient is T. Matthew Wolf II, and I don't know T. Matthew. Keep your seat right there. We'll bring you up here in a second. He's aggressive. That's a good thing. All right, so we're going to watch a video on the 2 screens, and hopefully there they are. And here's Matthew's interview.
Welcome. I am Tennille Fordyce Ruff. I was Matt's professor in law school, and I am thrilled that he picked me to do this. I want to say congrats to him for being the outstanding young attorney this year. And I guess we'll start with Matt introducing himself.
Yeah, thank you. I was really excited when Diane gave me the call and told me that I had been selected. I was really honored. And one of the first things they mentioned was that I got to pick someone to do an interview. I think they started last year with COVID, and my first thought was you.
So I know that you didn't go straight from kindergarten to law school. So can you tell us a little bit about your career path and what made you decide to go to law school?
Yeah, so when I was 18, I enlisted in the New Jersey National Guard. I did a semester of college before going off to basic training in AIT. And then after AIT, I got deployed down to Guantanamo Bay at the time. And then through my deployment, I just made some contacts with the contracting companies and then just started contracting after the deployment. So in total, I did about 10 years contract intelligence work before law school. And another funny story with you is I did 95% of my undergrad online because I was all over the place and there was no way that I could do like a normal school. And like one of the first week or two, again, that you were my professor, you asked if I did my school online. And I was like, yes, how did you know? And you said, your commas. You use your commas like salt. You sprinkle them everywhere, which is still kind of how I use my commas, I'll be honest.
Well, I can't teach you everything, at least not in 2 semesters. So you've talked just in this last answer a lot about doing good and making a difference. Was that part of your reason for going to law school, or is that just something you've sort of become passionate about as you have practiced?
Yeah, I think being a veteran, I'd always wanted to do something with veterans and try to assist them. So I will say I do think one of the reasons I went to law school was maybe to get some education to help out veterans with some legal issues.
So I know you haven't been out of law school terribly long since you're the outstanding young attorney. But what's your most memorable achievement or accomplishment?
I think, honestly, probably this. in a way. Like I said, when Diane called me up and told me I'd been selected, I was honored. I think, I mean, in some ways, even graduating law school was an amazing achievement, and then continuing to go on and get my LLM and get my first job and keep working. Like,
Yeah. Well, not only did you get your LLM, since I know you, you got your LLM as a newlywed with, then came along your first child. So it wasn't just like
Yeah.
the easiest career path where you hung out with buddies and
yeah, no, I got
you moved a family across the United States and then back.
right. Yeah, my son was born in April of the year I had to take the bar exam, and my wife was working full time. And I mean, I'll be honest, my in-laws and my wife's family helped out a ton getting that done. But still, like,
Yeah.
trying to study for the bar, like knowing you were trying to have this like 3-4 month old that you're trying to
Yeah.
take care of, and then moving across the country and then moving back. And
Yeah. So what advice would you give to new attorneys or even law students?
yeah, so I've been really lucky with the supervising attorneys I've had. First with Tom Walker at Generations Law Group, and now Scott Ludwig at Ludwig, Shuffer, Miller and Johnson, and that they really encouraged me to be involved in the bar. And so if I had any advice to either my advice to young attorneys and law students is get involved. It is really easy to be involved in the bar here, especially here in Boise, and do as much as you can to get out, to meet people, to network. Thank you so much. Again, I am really going to miss you when you leave, and
I'll miss you too.
I'm sad. I'm sad you're going, but I still send you I still send you a lot of emails with a lot of commas.
Okay.
Because
Matthew, come on up here. Supposed to look this way. Oh, there she is. Hi.
Hi, I'm back.
Can you stand up a little bit?
Oh, that was bad. Go ahead and say a few words if you would like.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Get in there, guys.
I'm sorry.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead. Say a
oh,
few words.
I was not expecting to talk, but I guess I will talk. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Thank you for my wife, for Tennille Fordyce Ruff, for being here. She is leaving, and she took an amazing job down in Arizona. Like I said, I'm sad she's leaving, but exciting for the opportunity. And just to echo what I said in the video, for the law students that are here, get involved. I'm the CLE chair of the Young Lawyer section of the bar, and we're trying to recruit people to get involved with that. We're trying to build that section up. And for some of the senior attorneys here, really encourage younger attorneys to get involved. It's a lot of amazing opportunities. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was fun. Wasn't that fun? All right. The next one is the Distinguished Jurist Award. The only one that scares me more than law school deans or judges. This award honors a member of the judiciary who has demonstrated excellence, integrity, independence, fairness, service, and professionalism. This year's recipient of the award is the Honorable Deborah Bale, who was interviewed by her daughter, Basanti. Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. Oh, there you are. All right. Congratulations. Let's watch the video.
And at high school, it was kind of an exciting time. And one of the things that drew me to being a judge was it was so important that judges hear things carefully and give everybody an even playing field, so that it didn't matter if you were rich or poor or famous or not famous, you had a fair place to say what happened to you. And it was a time when there was lots happening and there was lots of drive to make the justice system better, to bring up cases of people who weren't usually heard and who were basically ignored by the court system before then. And so it was a time of a lot of turmoil, but it was also a time when lots of good people were doing good things. So I discovered really early in practicing law that I loved trial work. Now, at first, of course, it was pretty limited and pretty script-driven. And I can remember the first time I did a default divorce, I had all my questions written out because I was nervous about doing it right. And then over time, you watch different lawyers do different styles, and you have to work to find your own style. And I can remember trying on styles that were real disasters because they were very aggressive styles that didn't work for me. And I found what worked for me was pretty much out preparing everybody and then kind of creeping up on it. Because there is a benefit to being a woman lawyer at a time when there were hardly any women in practice in Idaho. There were 2 older women who'd been wonderful members of the bar. One represented corporations. The other was a business lawyer and a legislator. And then I was the new one. And so there wasn't a big crowd of women lawyers there weren't women lawyers to base my approach on.
So back to kind of trial work in cases and being a judge instead of a juror, are there any kind of specific cases or kind of things that jump out of your very experienced career?
One of the first things I did when I became a judge was do more research into how children can testify in the courts. Because one of the surprises for me coming from the federal system was how many cases we had with child sexual abuse, which was really a surprise to me. It was new to me. It wasn't something I dealt with before. And so I did a lot of research and investigation into how do you make it possible for a child, including a fairly young child, to testify in court? How do you avoid creating a situation where they're trying to please an adult and they're changing their testimony? How do you make it comfortable for them? Because you think of how peculiar it is for a child, even a teenager, to come into a courtroom and have all these people sitting around looking at them and totally foreign environment, and then be asked to talk about something that was frightening to them. And so I did a lot of work on how to make it possible for children to testify in court. And one of the things I was very proud of at first was that I developed protocols for child witnesses in the courtroom so that they could testify more comfortably and just say whatever it was they had to say, not shut down by how weird the environment is to a child, but also not infected by having to respond to what adults might want to hear, because that's the risk with children. The risk with children is not that they don't perceive accurately, because they often do. The risk is they can't express themselves so well, and they can be too sensitive to giving to an adult what they think the adult might want to hear. And so I was also on the Children at Risk Task Force, and we developed ways of interviewing children so that the child could tell the child's own story and not have it become the adult's story. And I did a lot of work with that for many years when I first became a judge.
Okay, well, I have a unique perspective on this next question, but what was it like to be a judge and a mom and a single parent? I've seen one side as your daughter, but...
Well, adopting you was the best decision I ever made. So no question about that. But it sure did. It did add extra challenges. And one of the things, since you came when I was about 10 years into being a judge, I at least was pretty familiar with judging first. Not quite 10 years. It wasn't quite that, but it was close. And that was useful because I was a little farther along. But it was a trick with and I had lots of nightmares about finding you childcare before you came, decent childcare, because you would see ads and they would say, we have a television. And you're like, well, who doesn't have a television? And you'd think, so does that mean they're just going to plop all the little kids in front of the TV and turn it on and that's the daycare? So it's a real challenge as a single parent to find good daycare. And it opened my eyes to the need for me as a judge to be a lot more sensitive to the parents who were the lawyers before me. And so we got pretty family friendly just because I started having my eyes open to what it meant to be the person who has to pick up the kid from daycare or get the extra charge because you're too late. And that was a real challenge. I did cut down on a lot of the other things that I would do so that you wouldn't be raised by some stranger. And you spent a lot of Friday evenings down at the courthouse. And there were times when I'd bundle you up when you were asleep and come back to the courthouse with you in your blankie and put you down carefully while I went a few feet away into the courtroom to take a jury verdict. And that's, of course, why you spent so many Friday evenings with bailiffs and court reporters. And you learned to play the meanest game of blackjack in the world from all those
I
bailiffs.
did get pretty good. So what are some entertaining or memorable cases or stories, considering you've had cases but also have done a lot of weddings?
And then the one you've always liked, which is the honest car thief. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was a truck he stole. And so I was taking his guilty plea. And he was kind of an honest thief in the sense that he would not murder you in your sleep. But if you left something and you weren't watching, he would help himself to it. And so he was telling me about how he had the reason he had the stolen truck was that he was at a bar and it was cold, it was winter, and he came out of the bar and lo and behold, there was a truck warming up right outside of the bar. And so he got in the truck and he said he thought it was a sign from God. And at that point, I just couldn't stand it. And he said, have you thought maybe you should spend a little more time in prayer? And he laughed because he was your basic honest thief. That is, he would not murder you in your sleep, but he would definitely relieve you of your property.
And you've done how many weddings about?
I've done somewhere around 2,800 weddings of all different kinds. I've done a wedding near a balloon with the bride and groom in the balloon.
Hot air balloon?
Yeah. And then it would make this big roaring noise, which made me jump at first. And then I paced it around the blowers. So we are gathered here together and go, and then and I just paced the whole wedding. And then another time I did it actually inside the balloon part of a balloon with huge blowers going. I don't think anybody heard that wedding. And then I've done ones for people riding up on their horses. That was kind of fun. And then one where they rode a little carriage in. That was pretty cool, little trap. And then lots of different weddings.
Okay. Well, you do mention retirement, so any other fun plans that you're going to do in retirement?
I'll learn I'm going to work on my languages that I already have and maybe try to get my Italian a little farther along than it was. And then I'm going to be a special ops judge because I do not like the terminology senior judge. Part of why I put off retirement. It's such a lousy name. But I decided what we really are is highly trained professionals who will drop in for targeted matters and then leave. And as my military friends put it, leaving a mess. But I don't think I'll leave a mess. I'm going to try not. So I'm looking forward to being a special operations judge and helping out.
Judge Bale, come on up here. come over here.
I know, I know. I
Lindsay.
would have had a picture with Sandra Day O'Connor if I'd known how to do this when I was a young judge.
Okay, just a couple more moments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all very, very much. This means a great deal to me. I got advice on remarks tonight. One was, accept the award, say thank you, sit down. Another one was, you have to say something because you're a seminal figure. And I looked and I thought, I didn't gain that much during the pandemic. It made me feel really a bit awkward being referred to that way. But it has been a wonderful ride in the judiciary in Idaho. But what has been really wonderful is seeing our bar open up to the gifts of many people and many women. And so, like I've often said, I didn't mind being a pioneer, but I was really glad when the other wagons showed up. And it has been a great ride. And I'm just delighted to see so many people and so many diverse people, because the law benefits so much when we have all sorts of viewpoints. Now, I'm going to cut my remarks enormously because I believe that's wise, and I had the good example of our distinguished young lawyer, so way to go. And but when I first got here and I got my second client, and she sat in front of me and she was weeping, and her tears actually rolled down her face and splashed onto her hands. And she had been seriously abused by her husband. He'd attacked her, he'd beaten her in the incisions from her recent cancer surgery. And she didn't know what to do. And so I knew I could get her a TRO. Because even though I was a baby lawyer, I knew that. But I went down the hall and I asked another lawyer, I said, I know I can get her a TRO, but what good is a TRO? Because all that'll happen is he'll get in trouble if he does it again. And so I asked my colleague, what do you do? And he said, I don't know, they do something. And so listening to that moment, I said, no, this isn't a good answer. So I went to work with all sorts of people in this community, with lots of people from lots of different churches, with some wonderful social workers that I'd met, with some wonderful people, and we put together the first shelter for battered women and children, one of the first in the whole country, if not the first. And then we also took care of homeless women and children, and that's when I fell in love with Idaho. Because in Idaho, you put aside all the labels and buzzwords and things, you could talk to people, you could listen to people, you could hear what was wrong, and you could work out a practical solution. And that's when I fell in love with the Idaho that I met. And I think that Idaho's still here. This year in the pandemic, we had to learn a lot and do a lot, and I was so proud of the Idaho judiciary for doing as much as it quickly could to make it possible for work to continue, for work to be done, for people to be protected, for disputes to get resolved, some a lot slower than they ought to have been resolved. But at the same time, there were a lot of angry voices, a lot of disrespect for what my life has been based around, which is listening to people, giving them their time to talk, to say their story, and trying to come up with practical and just solutions. And I thought, I based my whole life on decisions made on evidence. And so what I wanted to say to you, this is a wonderful bar, and I'm deeply honored to get this award from this wonderful bar. But I want all of us as people who are committed to making decisions based on evidence that take into account all the voices that need to be heard. I want our bar to lead the way in restoring a sense of respect to civic life, respect for law. I don't want to see any more people attacking judges in their homes for doing right, even though I do remember once when my daughter was little opening an envelope outside in case there was something in it. So not all of those threats against judges are new. And we used to compare who'd been sued for the most by the tax protesters. And so that was kind of a contest that we had was, did you get 10 million? I got 20 million. So anyway, so it isn't new that there have been strange attacks on this legal system, but I think it needs us, the people who care about the law, to say, no, we can do better than this. And we can do better in this as parents, raising our children to be problem solvers and cooperatively resolve conflict. We can do it by law-related education. There you go, Diane. And at every level, because it's those fourth graders that I used to have in my courtroom every January, where I said, hey guys, let's do this little drill. And I'd have the jury of kids and the witness, and I'd say, now, witness, and we'd have a little defendant, we'd have a little prosecutor, and so I'd have my witness go over, and I said, now whisper to the jury, and jury, I want all of you to glare and say, and fold your arms and glare at the defendant. And then we'd stop and I'd say, did that seem fair to you? Did it seem fair to you that we just said that, Timmy Smith robbed the 7-Eleven and you didn't even hear any of the evidence against him? Because they need to know at a granular level why we have the rights we have, what the importance is of talking with each other, listening to each other, and making fair and just decisions. And sure, we're going to have to change some of the solutions we come up with. We learn more. Domestic violence, we've learned lots more since the time of building shelters. We've learned lots more about trauma and its effect long term. But that's the thing about it. We just keep learning. We just keep trying new things, and we keep working at it, and we make this the country that we are proud of, a just country with equal justice under the law. So way to go, guys. I'll be bothering you, so fear not, and intimidating people wherever possible. It's required. So thank you very much.
All right. The highest award that can be given by the Idaho State Bar is the Distinguished Lawyer Award. This year, award recipients are Howard Belodoff of Boise, Donald Chisholm of Rupert, and Deborah Grasham of Boise. Do we have, where's Diane? Where are you? Do we have videos? Yep, okay. So here we are.
Good evening, folks. My name is Randy Smith. I'm on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I am very privileged today to have this opportunity to interview our newest distinguished lawyer of Idaho, Mr. Howard Belodoff. I think this is one of the biggest privileges I've had in my career. I know I practiced against Howard, and he always gave me the business. And I know that I also had him in my courtroom many times. And to think that I have this opportunity to now interview him for this award that I believe all Idaho lawyers would want, because it's such a great award. And I am so happy for Howard and offer my congratulations as we begin this interview to one of the good lawyers in Idaho, one of those who I have such high regard, for whom I have such high regard, Howard. So Howard, now distinguished lawyer of Idaho, I guess I need to ask you a couple of questions, and my first question would always be, okay, you're here, you're a distinguished lawyer. What's your most memorable career achievement or accomplishment?
Well, thanks for those kind words, Judge. It's been an honor to appear before you over the years and work with you on occasion. You know, it's hard to single out any achievements, but I'm just going to begin by saying that my career with legal aid, representing my clients, and providing them with the opportunity to achieve equal justice is probably the biggest achievement that I think I've had over these many years, besides the individual cases in which I've represented clients. And after decades, it's hard to pick any, but I can say that there are a few that stick out. Recently, the Martin versus City of Boise case, which after 2 appeals recognized the fact that homeless persons had an 8th Amendment right not to be incarcerated simply for sleeping when they had no alternative shelter. That has made a difference throughout the United States. And so I would put that one up there. Another one that I've had, and I've had for over 40 years, is the Jeff D. case, which after 5 appeals, including an appeal to the United States Supreme Court, is attempting to and trying to provide community-based mental health services for children who have severe emotional disturbance and their families. We're trying to create a new system of care in the state of Idaho so these kids don't have to be institutionalized or hospitalized, and they could stay in their own communities. And finally, I would say that my work in the community house case versus City of Boise, recognizing under the Fair Housing Act that a men-only ordinance was discriminatory, and ultimately achieving a jury award of $1 million on behalf of that nonprofit for the city, what the city undertook against them. So those, in terms of cases, those seem to stick out in my mind. I certainly am thankful for the recognition that I previously received from other nonprofits, from the Idaho Trial Lawyers, and from the National Association of Legal Aid and Defenders, recognizing some of my work. So I guess those are the ones that right now stick out. I've probably forgotten some, but after these many years, that's my excuse.
So what's the most fun you've ever had on a case?
I was preparing a federal case in front of Judge McNichols on the right of access to the courts by inmates. And I was in the law library in the middle of the yard. And in July, very hot, a riot broke out, which basically the inmates took over the prison. And I was not in the middle of it, but I was there watching the whole thing through the windows at the time. And the inmates said, "Well, we need you to go and negotiate for us." And I said, "There's not a way I'm going to negotiate, because they'll never believe I'm here by coincidence." So I said, "Nope, I'm out of here." I got quote unquote rescued by the SWAT team, and walked out, drove home, got a call. I don't remember from who. "Well, can you come back and try to work with the inmates?" The inmates had taken some hostages. So I was involved in trying to get the hostages released and to calm everybody's nerves and feelings. You know, it was quite of an experience over 24 hours, and obviously the prison suffered substantial damage.
I still think it'd be worthwhile for you to kind of lay out the kind of areas of the law in which you practice.
My cases always fall under the umbrella of civil rights cases, whether it's 42 USC section 1983 for state actors under color of state law violating the constitutional statutory rights of individuals, or discrimination based on housing or gender or familiar status, racial and religious discrimination, which are unique. But the foundation of all that is understanding the practice of law, both substantively and procedurally. And most of these cases obviously are brought in federal court.
So we're at the end of this interview. And so is there one last entertaining story or one last thing that you'd like to say from early in your practice or later that you'd like to give us as we quit?
Well, I have to say one other thing. I wouldn't be able to do anything without the support of my family, my wife, Kathy, all my children, and all the colleagues at Legal Aid that I've had. They have been great. And many of you know them in your communities, and if you don't, you should get to know them. They are the best of the best. So that's how I would end it, Judge.
Well, I will say this. I remember when I was a young lawyer and Wes Merrill from my firm, senior partner of Merrill & Merrill, was nominated and put in as a distinguished lawyer. We thought that was the greatest, most memorable moment for him and for the whole firm that would happen. And now to think that my friend, Howard Beladoff, who has practiced against me, we've knocked heads and served on committees and practiced in my courtroom and done such a good job, even under my examination many times, to say, come on, Howard, come to the party, as I saw it. And to see that guy who is such a good man is given this award is one of the great things of my legal career. I am so impressed with you because of the background you have, the experience you've had, the place you have made your niche, not in a big firm, not as a prosecutor, not as a public defender, but in the niche you've had and to do as well. And that you'd give me this opportunity, that was a tremendous, tremendous privilege to me. And all I can say is congratulations to one of the good guys. God bless.
Well, thank you, Judge, and you're one of the good guys.
All right. Lindsay's going to take a picture. Thank you. There you go.
Okay.
Well done.
Well, just so you know, Diane asked me to get a haircut and shave before I came up here today. Well, I want to thank all the members of the bar that I know, and those that I don't know, hopefully will know. And I do appreciate all the Idaho lawyers and the judges that I've interacted with over the years. Many of them are here. Hopefully they feel the same. But I do want to, I'm not going to, I can thank my colleagues at Legal Aid, of course, which I already did, and I can thank my family over here. But I want to talk a little about my clients. Not much, because I have a hard time talking about my clients. But I owe my success, I believe, to my courageous clients. They don't ask for much, just very little. You know, we are not farm workers, but we eat the food they harvest. And you, us, most of us anyway, have never been subject to discriminatory treatment, but you know it's out there, it exists. And when you go to sleep each night in your homes, it may never occur to you that sleeping was a crime. But homeless people do. So, the Constitution, my view, and I'm not a constitutional professor or a scholar by any means. I only learned a little at the University of Idaho, but enough. Thank you, Dean. Provides all of us, whatever race you are, whatever religion you are, whatever you are, with protections against, how should I say, overreach by public officials. Number one, we have the right to vote. And number two, which is, in my view, more important, we have the right, and this goes to the protect against what's been known as the tyranny of the majority. We have the right to equal justice under law. And as lawyers, we do all play a role. Doesn't matter who your clients are or what firm you work for. We play a role in protecting those individual liberties. So, I'm a student of history and a student of the law, and we read about it when we're in school. And while the historical pace of equal justice may not always be as deliberate or brisk as it should be, the journey points in one direction. And I have examples that I have always carried with me in the cases that we all read, you know, and some of the ones I didn't read and have been thankfully been reading lately. But the examples of that journey, and I'll just mention them because I think it says a lot about our profession and our country. You know, it all started with Marbury versus Madison in 1803. Unfortunately, we got Drew Scott versus Sanford in 1857, followed by Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896. And I know this might be too lawyering for some of us, but we've probably heard some of these things, you know. And then we had Karamutsu versus the United States. And then the tide turned a little, because we got Brown versus the Board of Education. And then it turned a little bit more right here in Reed versus Reed in 1971. And then 5 years ago or so, we got Obergefell versus Hodges. And then for me, it was Martin versus City of Boise. So, you know, I'm not that eloquent. So let me conclude by quoting Robert Kennedy in 1966 in his Ripple of Hope speech, which was an address he gave in South Africa during apartheid. But it was true then, and it's true today. This is a quote. Each time a person, it was man, but I changed it to person, stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing such others from a million different centers of energy and daring those ripples to build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. I think that's, those words were true in 66, they're true in 2021, and they'll be true in 50 years from now. So thank you so much. You guys are great.
All right, we have another video.
I'm Rick Bowler, Senior Magistrate Judge from the 5th District, and it's my privilege today to talk to Don Chisholm. Don has been recognized as a distinguished Idaho lawyer by the Idaho State Bar. Congratulations, Don. It's a well-deserved honor. I guess I'd like to start out for you discussing your longtime connection to the area.
Well, thanks, Rick, for doing this interview. I was surprised with the honor of being named as one of the distinguished lawyers for this year, and so I'm still sort of trying to absorb what it all means, and it's forced me to go back and remember a whole lot of things over the last 53 and a half years of practice, and I've conveniently forgotten a lot of them probably, but I grew up in Burley. My parents had the International Harvester and farm equipment and truck business, and then they had Packard cars from 1946 to 56, and then American Motors cars from 58 till 72. So I sort of grew up in the business. I was a guy bolting teeth on side delivery rakes, and then I was a parts man, and I continued to be a parts man every summer until the year that I took the bar exam in 1967, and then I made the decision that I liked the idea of law more than retailing cars and trucks and farm equipment, things like that, and so I became an attorney instead of going into the family business.
On passing the bar, then you took a job in Rupert.
Right. In fact, I got the offer of the job in Rupert before I made my final decision, but Larry Duff was the prosecuting attorney, and then he and Bill Goodman had just formed a law partnership because each of their partners had resigned or retired. Judge Bellwood was Bill Goodman's partner, and he went on to the district court bench, and Lawrence Duffin was Larry Duff's partner, and he had gone to California. So they put that firm together, I think, on the 1st of August, and then I think I got admitted to the bar September 27 of 1967, but I had gone to work after the bar exam and before the actual admission. I was doing research and things like that.
And then 1 year after your passage of the bar and your place at the firm, you became prosecutor of Minidoka County.
Right, yeah. Larry had been the prosecutor, and he decided that he didn't want to do it anymore, and I ran unopposed and ended up serving two-year terms as Minidoka County prosecutor.
And as in your 4 years as a prosecutor, you distinguished yourself with a case that got national attention that might be interesting to discuss.
Well, that was an unusual set of circumstances. There were some young people that were quite actively involved in selling drugs and distributing them and so forth. And so I was the prosecuting attorney, and we didn't have a whole lot of assistants to help out with things. And so I was typing search warrants and things like that and helping the drug task force that was in effect at that time go out and do the searches. And so they came up with 6 young people that had been actively involved in the drug trade. And so they were all charged. We had juvenile jurisdiction waived on a couple of them, but they were all charged with felonies. And then we had one trial. The rest of them had pled guilty. The other one, the one that had the trial, was convicted. And then Judge Sherman Bellwood, who was the district judge, scheduled all of their sentencings for the 1st of April in 1970. And so when I got to the sentencing, there was a large contingent there that apparently had been tipped off that there was going to be something big happening. And I know the Idaho Statesman was present in the courtroom, and I don't recall who else from the media, but Judge Bellwood sentenced these 6 people to the Idaho State Penitentiary, or at least the Board of Corrections. I don't recall the exact detail of how the sentence went, but then a little later, I had a call one afternoon on a Friday that a gentleman was at the Ponderosa Inn, which was the major hotel at that time, and when I finally was able to connect with him, it was Loudon Wainwright of Life magazine, and he had come to town to write a story about this sentencing. It had gotten a lot of national attention, and he was here for about a week and wrote a story, and about it was the November 6th issue in 1970, this story about a small town, or a town dealing sterling with its own, came out. So Judge Bell was featured, and Sheriff Johnson, and myself as the prosecutor. And so it was interesting to happen when you're 28 years old.
Well, and in my years of watching your practice, I guess one of the most tenacious and principled cases you ever took up was one in which you were a co-plaintiff, and you sued Cassia County and the commissioners for their financial engagements with the IHC, the
Intermountain Healthcare,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, reflect on that.
Well, you know, I'd been city attorney for Rupert, and I'd been the county attorney for Minidoka County, and so I knew a lot about how government ought to operate. And Minidoka County had its own hospital, and Cassia County had its own hospital, and Cassia County decided they wanted to build a new hospital. And there'd been a lot of talk about whether the 2 counties ought to get together and build a consolidated hospital, but Cassia County decided to go on their own, and they bought the land and everything, and then had a hospital built to be operated by Intermountain Healthcare out of Utah. And somehow a client friend of mine by the name of Truman Bradley got wind of the fact that the county was just going to turn over a bunch of their own medical equipment to Intermountain Healthcare without Intermountain Healthcare paying anything for it. And Intermountain Healthcare was a big organization, and there was no certainty of any direct benefit of the county giving that equipment to Intermountain Healthcare, because Intermountain Healthcare didn't have to pay for it, and but they were required to equip their hospitals wherever they operated. So we discovered that they had violated the open meeting law. They hadn't even made the decision in an open meeting, as I recall. And so Truman Bradley and I both felt that it was time to sort of call to their attention that there are some rules the government ought to go by. And so I filed a suit on behalf of Truman as a Cassia County resident taxpayer, and myself as a Cassia County taxpayer, although I lived in Minidoka County, but this office is in Cassia County. So anyway, a judge ruled in our favor on that case, and I don't know, I had about $10,000 or $12,000, maybe $14,000 of time in it, but it just seemed like sometimes it's necessary to push back and make government do what it ought to do, and so that's why we did it. And we didn't ask for attorney fees or anything like that, or damages. We just wanted the county to get its money and not be giving money away without following the rules.
Well, and importantly, the one remedy that you asked for compelled the commissioners to do what? Was it read and sign that they had an understanding of the open meeting law?
I forgot about that, but that's right.
And with all that dedication to time, you were also successful in raising a family. What kind of advice would you give young attorneys about balancing their life?
Well, you know, it's important that you remember what is important in life, and one of the best things you do is leave children who are productive and are able to contribute something to society. And when I married my wife, she had 2 children. She was a widow, and so I raised them from 6 and 2, and then we have our own daughter, and they've all gotten through college and everything. But you know, you have to keep things in perspective. I know that I've spent a lot of time practicing law, you know, evenings and things like that over the years when the kids were young. But and I like to say that I appreciate my family sharing me with the jealous mistress known as the law. You know, if you just appreciate using the talents God has given you to help your fellow man, and you can make a decent living, take care of your kids and your family and everything else, that's probably the right way to go.
Well, and not to forebode any premature end to your long and illustrious career, but how do you want to be remembered, Don?
Well, just for being a good, honest lawyer. I try to take a lot of pride in trying to put together transactions that work. And so, you know, if somebody's got a flaky piece they don't want to include in the contract, I won't do that kind of contract, because you know, people trust you for having integrity and doing things that are competent. And if you know you're hiding something when you put a contract together, that's a terrible thing to do. And I enjoy helping people with estates, because you know, when a parent dies or a spouse dies or something, it's amazing how much anger is triggered by the death, and that anger sometimes gets pointed off in strange directions, and people take out their pain and their agony on others, and you know, a lot of times it erupts into big, expensive little battles that shouldn't take place. And I try to help people get realistic, and you know, in general, in an estate situation, the pot never grows, so it's a question of how you can get the thing settled without having too much of the money end up in legal fees that don't end up doing anybody any good. So I try to do that kind of work, and I take pride in the success that I've had in getting things done economically for people.
And I think you should. And that's the reason why you have this Distinguished Attorney Award, and I congratulate you on that, Don.
Yeah, thank you.
Say a few words, if you would mind.
Well, receiving this award was a great surprise. I received a telephone call from one of the bar commissioners saying that I was going to get a letter from Diane Minnick confirming what he was telling me, but since he has a very Christ-like appearance, I trusted what Laird Stone told me. I want to thank the bar for this award. I really appreciate it. It was something I didn't expect. I know there are many lawyers that are every bit as worthy of receiving this award as I am, and I want to congratulate my fellow honorees tonight for the accomplishments that they have made to the bar. I want to thank my family. My daughters have come from California and Seattle, and my son from New York State to be here, and my granddaughter Madeline came with her mother from Mountain View, California. But I appreciate the sacrifice my family made to let me practice law as much as I did, and perhaps there were times that they would have preferred I did something other than hit the office, but I feel good about the results, and I feel very proud of all the things that my children and now my grandchildren are accomplishing. So thanks to the State Bar, thanks Diane, thanks to all the commissioners and everybody else who has had something to do with this.
Okay, I'm Bob White. I'm a partner at Givens Pursley, and I'm here today to interview Deb Grasham, the Distinguished Lawyer for 2021, which is the Distinguished Lawyers given to an attorney or attorneys each year who have distinguished themselves in the profession through exemplary conduct and many years of service to the profession and to the Idaho citizens. So Deb, congratulations.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
So you and I have known each other for a long time. I got to the firm in 1998, and you arrived a year later in 1999. So we've been friends and partners for 22 years.
22 years. Yeah, I can't believe how fast that goes, huh?
Yeah, I know. And the amazing thing is that we don't look any different than we did when we first met.
Absolutely.
So we've worked on some cases together. The one that sticks out in my mind is when you came to the firm, you were a First Amendment lawyer, and you asked me to help on a First Amendment case. I was happy to do so. I found out later that what you really needed was somebody to prepare live nude entertainers as witnesses and then take our expert to the live nude entertainment venues in Boise. I've got to tell you, there's nothing like walking into one of those venues and having the talent wave at you and call you by your first name like you're Norm from Cheers. But do you remember that case?
Oh, yeah, and you're welcome, by the way,
Yes.
for that, too. Yeah, you're
Yes.
welcome. It's called freedom of expression. Right, exactly.
Yeah, that was, that was a pretty high-profile case in
Yeah.
Boise. Do you remember how it came out?
We won.
We did.
We challenged, Boise had passed an ordinance prohibiting certain nudity in public, and we represented some performers who disagreed with that, and we brought it to Judge Windmill. That was an interesting case, and we're able to prevail on First Amendment grounds and freedom of expression. And again, you're welcome.
Yes. So that was the first kind of big case I remember you having at Givens Pursley, but how did you get here? How did you get to Idaho and Givens Pursley? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm not an Idaho native, even though I've been in Idaho longer than I've been anywhere else. I grew up in the Bay Area. My family is in the Bay Area. I went to school at Berkeley, go Bears, and played volleyball there. And after college, went to Santa Clara. And for all intents and purposes, thought I'd spend my career in and around the Bay Area. Had accepted a job in San Francisco at a large firm, and because fate has a way of changing best made plans, I ended up moving to Seattle for family reasons and began with a firm there. Was really lucky to be with a national firm called Davis Wright Tremaine, and fell into this great practice of First Amendment law and litigation. I was always a litigator, but there were some really nationally known media lawyers there who really took me under their wing and had a wonderful experience. And then again, fate stepped in another 5.5 years, found myself moving to Boise. And I was able to stay with that firm to start here, and that was in January of '96. My third bar, California, Washington, and Idaho. And in the old days, you actually sat for a bar and hand wrote it out. There was no reciprocity, there was no computers. But once I got to Idaho, I said, this is it. I'm not moving again. And started in Boise in January of '96. And a few years later, found again another opportunity and was with, found myself at Givens Pursley in '99 and have been here ever since, very happily ever since at Givens Pursley. It's really been a right fit for me.
Well, just as impressive to me, and we're talking about distinguished lawyers, and one of the things that I think distinguishes you is the amount of time and the number of things that you've done outside of billable private practice work. The state courts, you've been president of the Bar Association, the Ninth Circuit representative for the federal courts, Idaho Legal History Society. You've really done a lot of things in the non-client-driven practice of law or participation with the bar. Tell us a little bit about that, but not necessarily that here's the list of stuff on my CV. But why did you do it? What's the reward? What do you get out of it? How has that formed or occupied your time over the last 20 years?
It's been a great part of my time. I mean, I've looked at doing pro bono work, whether it be for the courts, whether it be the CASA stuff, whether it be for other organizations in your community, is just part of what we do as lawyers, or what is expected of us in the profession. And it may be expected, but to me, it's also been fun. You get to meet really interesting people. And for those of us who are working in a building and going to court and doing our particular practice area, being involved in these kind of organizations may be helpful to that organization, but really gives you or me the opportunity to meet folks you might not have otherwise had the opportunity to do and get to interact with them. When I was on the Board of Commissioners, we always had to travel around the state for the district court road shows, and that was eye-opening because I got to meet really smart, amazing lawyers all over the state. And having not grown up here, that was eye-opening to me. That was just like, we have such quality lawyers practicing in every corner of the state, and I really enjoyed that. And one thing led to another, and I mean, really, if you look at my career, really the only thing that you can say that really marks it is I've always tried to take advantage of the next opportunity, whatever that is. And after I was on the Bar Commission, then I worked at the federal courts, and that opened up different opportunities. And I found myself most recently interested in legal history. It started off with Idaho and my work on this project called the First 50 Women in Idaho, and that has now blossomed out to, I'm the chair of the Ninth Circuit Historical Society. So it's been just amazing, and now I get to meet all these lawyers from all over the Ninth Circuit, including judges. And so I feel blessed that I'm able to do that kind of work and get to meet those folks and interact when, not a lot of people get those opportunities. So I just been super happy doing all that.
Over the course of the years that you've been in practice, what would you label as your biggest achievement?
There's a couple things come to mind, but when I think about achievements, and the thing that will live past me, other than my family, of course, is my work on the First 50 Women project.
And just explain what that is
Yeah.
for people that that weren't here while you were doing it.
Sure. So when I served on the Bar Commission 2002 to 2005, I realized I was only the third woman to have served in that spot. And so I became interested in who were the women that came before me, having, again, not grown up in Idaho. So I started looking into who those women were, which then led to this bigger project about who was the first woman that was admitted in Idaho, and then who was the second. And those were not questions that were easily answered. So I delved into that, and over the course of the year, I collected the histories of the first 50 women that were admitted in Idaho from 1895, before women had the right to vote, Helen Young, all the way through the 70s, with some of our current practitioners. And in doing that, I was able to collect a lot of information that no one had ever pulled together before. And I really became concerned that if I had not pulled that together and been able to share it with other folks, that all that information would be lost again, that their stories would not be told. So while I was on the Board of Commissioners, I was able to pull that together, and we put together, for lack of a better word, a book, and held an event in 2005 where we invited all the surviving women to this event called the First 50 Women in Idaho Law. And we were able to pull this off. And at the time, it was the single largest event that the bar had put on that was not a bar meeting. And it was just one of these really feel-good events. And a lot of the women came through, including this woman, Ray Osaka, who her family had been interned during World War II. She was at law school. She spoke, very inspiring. So when I think about what will outlive me, it's going to be something like that project and capturing that history and the stories of those remarkable women. So I'm really proud of that.
And we've kind of talked about things. Is there anything else? Any sort of final comments to wrap this up?
Well, I want to thank you, Bob, for doing this. And really, I want to make sure I thank my family, my folks, my sisters, their families, obviously my husband, Charlie, and my two boys who've been with me through all of this. It's been a remarkable experience. I am so humbled. Thank you to everyone for this award. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I'm the end of the night. Nobody wants to hear much more from me. You all want to get home, but I just want to start by saying congratulations to all the nominees, to all the recipients tonight. Judge Bale, I'm looking at you, and I just think you may be a pioneer, and I'm just happy to be in that wagon way in the back. I'm telling you, I'm trailing right behind you, so thank you so much. And to Don and to Howie, I can't believe that I'm in this mix. I am dumbfounded by all of it. When Kristen called me and told me that I had been chosen for this award, it was the Friday before I started a 2-week federal jury trial. And I was stressed, I was intense, and it was right, after COVID is opening up. And I'm like, nuh-uh, come on, quit punking me. I got enough on my mind, right? What's going on? And when she told me, I literally started crying. I think I was just at my wit's end anyways, because I know what this award means. When you all walk in, you see these beautiful pictures on both sides. In 2002, when I became elected as a commissioner, I walked into the room and I looked at these wonderful pictures and I understood what this award meant. And there was not a single woman on it. And it hurt me. I was like, are you kidding me? There's never been a woman worthy of this award. And I remember asking out loud, and Diane can remember because that's who I am. I just say what's on my mind. Where's all the women? What happened, right, Diane? You're laughing back there and you're cowering like, oh God, that was Deb, right? But I was like, there has to have been a woman. And so guess what? The next year, I'm on the Bar Commission, there was our first woman, Mary Smith Oldham. And I remember thinking, we're just breaking the barrier. We're getting the first one in. But when I worked to do that, I never in a million years thought that I would be included on that list. Never. And so when I tell you that I am humbled, there's not a word that's greater than humbled that I know in my dictionary to say. And I look at it and I see Wendy Olson and I think, oh my God, Wendy got this award. She's amazing. How in the world did I get into that mix? When I hear about Don, when I hear about Howie, I'm like, how did I get lucky enough to be in this group? I am truly humbled by all this. And this could not have happened without the support of my Givens Pursley family back here. Thank you so much. I love you all. I am a proud Givens Pursley lawyer since 1999, and so many of you showed up today. I love you. Thank you so much. And the other important people, look at my voice. I cry at Hallmark commercials, so it's hard for me to do this kind of thing. But my folks flew out from California. My mom and dad are here, and I'm so happy to have them there. Thank you so much. My stepdaughter Chelsea and Mark, and the baby in the back is our grandbaby, Maverick. We're super excited to have them here, so thank you for being here. And he's smiling. He knows he's being talked about. Yeah, Maverick. He's a good boy. And then, of course, my husband, who I love and adore, and I'm so thankful that I found you. So you might have known me as Deb Christensen. 3 years ago, we got married, and it changed my life. So now I'm Gresham. So that's why I put Christensen Gresham, because nobody would know Gresham otherwise, right? Exactly. So thank you all so much. I'm keeping it, I'm probably longer than you anticipated, but thank you to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you all for including me in this very distinguished group. I'm not dead yet. I'm around for a while. So I'm going to be around, and hopefully I can live up to the ideals that this award is meant to propose. So thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right. We have some past recipients of this distinguished award thing here with us that I would like to recognize. Last year's winner is Gary Cooper. Gary, would you please stand? At the same table, the power table over there, is Trudy Fowler. Trudy, please. Way in the back, Marcus Nye. Mark, would you please stand? The aforementioned Wendy Olson. Wendy, would you stand? And the notes say, check with Diane to confirm list. I didn't see anyone else come in, Diane. Who? John Ramel. Where are you, John? All right. All right. Okay, so it's we're only 20 minutes late. That's okay. Y'all didn't sit down when I told you to, so it's on you, not me. Few announcements for the evening's program before we end. Continental breakfast tomorrow morning at 7:30 in room 400 at the Boise Center. Registration is open at 7:30, so if you haven't registered, get over there and do it. The plenary session will start at 8:30. We'll have some Idaho State Bar updates by yours truly. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but Diane's going to take care of that for us. We're going to have the Supreme Court Justice, Supreme Court Chief Justice Richard Bevin. We're going to have remarks from the University of Idaho College of Law, Dean Joanna Kalb. Did I get that right? It's a hard name for me. And then our keynote presenter, Walt Echohawk. You will not want to miss that. It's going to be a fantastic program. Please attend tomorrow's award luncheon. It's in the same room. We're going to be celebrating the 50, 60, 65, 70 years attorneys in room 400. Visit the exhibitioners area there. We can't put this on without support of these folks, so please show them your love, which means spend money. It's all about selling soap. And again, thanks to the recipients tonight, Howard, Don, distinguished careers. Deb, thank you. Those are great remarks. The Honorable Deborah Bale, congratulations. And Matt, for a young lawyer, you have a ways to go to follow in the wake of these fine lawyers ahead of you in the system. So anyway, if you've been drinking, drive home fast. You will not be on the road so long. And we are adjourned.